Hello, welcome back everyone. I hope that you had a chance to network during the break. My name is Tobias and I'll be the moderator of this great panel discussion. The sponsor for today's panel is Solar Inc. Please join their table in the lounge during the break to learn more about them or check in their website more about them. So on tonight's panel, we'll be hearing a few tips and insights from five amazing professionals with a very rich experience and diverse backgrounds regarding, entrepreneurship in Latin America. So a few tips before we begin this. There are several ways that you can interact with the conversation. It could be either through the messages or either through emojis. So the panelists would really like to see how you feel about that. So without further ado, I would like to welcome all the guys to the stage. Bruno Diniz from Spiralen, Pedro Espinosa from Silicon Valley Leadership Group, Chris Madureira from FCJ USA, Cesar Donorio of Making Sense, and Michael Gay from Invest in Puerto Rico. Welcome, everyone. So I would really like for you to do a quick introduction about yourself. I would like to begin with Bruno and then Pedro, Chris, Cesar, and Michael. Thank you very much, Bruno. The floor is yours.
Nice. Thanks, Rodrigo, for inviting me to this panel. It's a pleasure. Well, I'm Bruno Diniz. I'm co-founder of a company called Spirale Innovation Consulting. We basically advise large companies in the financial sector here in Latin America and also governmental bodies on how to better innovate and navigate the financial services innovation. Besides that, I'm also a teacher here at University of São Paulo MBA course, and I'm also a writer. I have published already a book called The Fintech Phenomenon in the country, and also write for some columns in local magazines focused on business and entrepreneurship. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Pedro.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo, and it's an honor being here and sharing the stage with outstanding leaders of technology. My name is Pedro Espinosa. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. I was born and raised in Peru. Do we have any Peruanos in the room? Please feel free to chat. It's kind of funny on this platform, you can't put a group chat, so you have to do one-on-one direct messages. Born in Peru, raised by my mom. She's a Latina engineer, and I always had a dream of writing books because my mom's an author. And so about 2-3 years ago, I published my first book. It's called Differences That Make a Difference, How Companies Innovate Through Inclusion. And so we interviewed 100 CEOs like Eric Schmidt and Reed Hastings, Pat Gelsinger from Intel, on what are the best practices for diversity to fuel innovation. And so, in addition to that, I've given a TED Talk, and I am leading Silicon Valley Leadership Group by supporting the next generation of Latino and Black entrepreneurs by giving them access to capital and access to networks. So it's a pleasure being here. Excited to connect on LinkedIn, and thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Muchas gracias, Pedro. Now, Chris, over to you.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today representing the Latinos in a group full of men. So I'm from Brazil. I was born in Brazil and raised between Brazil and the U.S. So I did go to a school here in the U.S. where I am right now. I'm from Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte, very proud to be a Mineira. And I work for FCJ Venture Builder. I'm a co-founder and director of international expansion of FCJ Venture Builder and a director of operations in FCJ USA. So we do have a headquarters here in the US right now. FCJ works with large organizations and mid-sized organizations to bring innovation through corporate venturing and startup engagement. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward for this discussion.
Thank you very much. With that, I would like to pass on the voice to Cesar.
Thank you, Rodrigo. A pleasure to be here. Again, Cesar D'Onofrio, I am the co-founders and CEO of Making Sense. We are a software development company, and user experience is our passion, our focus. My story is I was born in Argentina. I moved to the US in the early 2000s, working for a consultant company in San Antonio, Texas. I found my passion about building software and mixing software development with user experience. So that's why with my brother and other founders, we put together Making Sense in 2006. So we have over 15 years of experience working together as a team. We have all our developers and user experience in all Latin America, from Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia. We have developers everywhere. And all our clients are here in the US. We work with successful startups, usually with companies, with startups that already have a market fit. And also we work with the mid-market portfolio companies owned by private equities, and we have some clients as well as in the public sector, companies that are public.
Thank you very much, Cesar. Now, Michael, please, if you would introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Pleasure to be here. My name is Michael Gay. I am an economic development person. I've been doing economic development for 30 years. I'm the chief of business development for Invest Puerto Rico, an agency that was created by the legislature of the Puerto Rican government 4 years ago. Due to a hurricane or two, we got started a little late. We're about 2.5 years old. We have a team of about 20 people, and our job is foreign direct investment and attraction. So we're bringing companies here, big and small. We're attracting, obviously, capital, companies, entrepreneurs, inventors. We focus very much on industry sectors that we are excellent at and that we have the infrastructure and assets for. So that's like biosciences, anything in the pharmaceutical, med device, or gene cell therapy region. We focus on startups in the tech and ICT, blockchain, crypto, artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, deep learning, all sorts of things like that. Even ESG, blue economy technologies, given our desires for renewable energy and ocean technology. Obviously, for entrepreneurs, if they're going to thrive here, they've got to have the physical space that they need, whatever that may be. They need mentors, they need access to capital, they need infrastructure, and they need assets. So we are constantly working on reinforcing those things. And in doing so, we're helping the existing entrepreneurs here, but we're trying to be very, very attractive to new entrepreneurs and inventors that want to come to the island. Our tech scene is growing exponentially. All of our spaces are proliferating. They're procreating like rabbits, and that's just because of the influx of individuals of high net worth, investors, people looking to plug into the scene, and entrepreneurs that are looking at Puerto Rico as an opportunity, particularly in those sectors that I mentioned earlier. It's an exciting time. I'm originally from Wisconsin, from America's Dairyland. Now I'm living and passionate about America's Medicine Cabinet and hopefully a new tech center for Latin American Caribbean. We're hosting the Internet of Things conference for Latin America for the next 3 years. Unfortunately, it was postponed due to COVID, and it'll be hosted June 6th through the 9th in Puerto Rico. I wanted to make sure I got that in, or my marketing department would have me. So I thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your words. So I would like to ask you all a question, to begin our panel and our conversation. So what's one tip that you would give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur in Latin America? So Bruno, if you want to start answering that, I would love to hear from you.
Sure, Rodrigo. I think it's a good question, and especially now that Latin America is on the spotlight because of many venture capitalists are looking at the region. So many activity happening here in the startup space. But I think the most important thing is really to understand the demographics and the culture of the country you want to operate first, because Latin America is very broad. We have many differences in terms of culture. Most part of it are countries that are Spanish speaking, but we also have Brazil that got like many countries inside itself, because we have different states, and each one of it have a different kind of culture and how they perceive something, products and solutions. So I believe it's very important to have this in mind, bear this in mind as you progress, and even for first deciding which country you're gonna start, understand deeply this all these cultural aspects, and as the company expands throughout Latin America, also be very careful about this aspect, because I already saw many examples of startup companies here in the region trying to use the same way they operate if they operate in a Spanish speaking country, trying to copy and paste the way they're operating in the other countries, and that's not the way to go. I think it's very important to have those aspects in mind.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Great contribution. And I would love to hear as well from Pedro. What would be one tip you would give to Latin entrepreneurs?
Wonderful question, dear Rodrigo. And also, I just realized Cesar Onofrio, my co-author, Jorge Titinga, speaks highly of you. So cool to meet you here. I would say number one, there's so much opportunity and growth. And I'm going to speak on behalf of Peru. A lot of relatively high percentage of our country is not banked, right? And so there's a lot of potential for fintech startups and digital payments that entrepreneurs could penetrate in just the Peruvian economy. Another opportunity we've seen by the stock market and Mercado Libre has been growing crazy, like e-commerce, Amazon. There's just so much innovation that you can do. And the fact that many investors are growing in more high net worth individuals and angel investors. So my number one tip would be to find your personal board of sponsors and find your personal board of advisors, right? Because no one does it alone. And you analyze the most successful entrepreneurs, they always had people backing them up.
Okay, thank you very much, Pedro. And now, Chris, representing the women here in this panel, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, of course, as an entrepreneur myself, woman, Latina, back and forth into Brazil and the U.S., my number one tip is, whether it's a woman or a man, is that we should all have like what I call a global approach, and it goes a little bit with what Bruno said. Have a global mindset, like seeing things as global but acting local. It's very important, whether you're a startup business or a pop business, mom and pop kind of business, because today we're not just competing with the local companies, we're competing globally, right? And as things are moving forward, we do need those types of mindsets. And sometimes I speak for the Brazilian mindset, is that startups start, and since the country is large and there's a lot of opportunities to grow, most of the founders, they only think of the local economy instead of thinking about the opportunities they have when it's the time for that as a global company, which is different from other smaller countries. When you're competing with other types of startups, for example, from Europe, countries that are small, they grow already global. So my number one tip is think global and act local.
I think that's great insight. Thank you very much, Chris. And Cesar, the floor is yours, my friend. I would like to hear
So my number one advice, it will be, have passion in whatever is, your idea or your project or your startup or whatever you are working, have passion. Things, it will, the market, the needs, it will change. And I think that you need to be strong to have a lot of passion, to change and to adapt. And in my case, I started, during my job as a CEO, making sense. We started other projects in the middle, and one thing that I learned, it was that we need to make sure that whatever is the project, I need to have passion, because that is the only thing that it will drive you through difficult times. So I like, from the book Good to Great, I like one of the quotes. Well, three topics. One is the business or the project have to be profitable. You would like to be the best on whatever you are doing, and you have to have passion. So, and I really like that, and I think that we are applying that, every day in my company, in my ventures, and I think it's really important. I would really highlight, to have passion in whatever you do.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Cesar. So gracias. And Michael, so I would like to hear, your take. You're on mute, Michael.
My apologies. It is tough to go last after all four of these experts have spoken, but I'll try to summarize it and use my own words as well. Solve a real global problem, which is something that Chris talked about. Get really great data, ask tons of questions, and in connection with what Bruno said earlier, culture, and in Puerto Rico, it's relationships. I call this Relationships Island, because if you're not plugged in, if you're not down here, if you're not seeing and meeting and connecting and colliding with capitalists and entrepreneurs and other unique thinkers, you're not going to maximize your opportunity. Whatever you're trying to do is going to really take longer than it should. And so, like I said, relationships, tons of questions, get really good data, and solve a global problem and address it locally. Those are some really strong summary notes of everything that's been said by the previous speakers.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those insights. So I would really now, since that all of you have shared a few things and insights regarding what it means to be an entrepreneur in Latin America, I would like now for a more focused approach. The first, I would like to ask Bruno. Bruno, I know you, and you're a reference, especially in Fintechs. You're a great author. By the way, his book is tremendous. I highly recommend to everyone. So I have a question for you, Bruno. What differentiates the Latin American Fintechs from other places of the world?
Great, nice, Rodrigo. But I believe that for Latin American fintechs, we have here a big fintech, a big opportunity. Talking in terms of financial inclusion specifically. When you look at the population, something around 640 million people, it's quite a market, and there are many opportunities. And especially because now here in the region, we are undergoing the process of evolution of the regulatory aspects as well in the financial system. So many different countries are doing great things in terms of trying to make a change in terms of how they approach technology, how they approach new ways, new business models. So we have countries just like Mexico, like Brazil, Colombia, Chile, that are doing extremely good in terms of how they're pushing that. agenda, either with open banking and regulatory sandboxes and things like that. So I believe that what differentiates it is we have here a very, very interesting opportunity in terms of for business. When you look at other places like Europe, for example, I don't think that we have such a huge, and even the US, such a huge opportunity in this sense. There are some information from the World Bank that says that here in Brazil we have nearly 50% of people that are unbanked. I believe that things have improved a lot since the pandemic, because for reasons like the financial aid distribution by the governments and all of that, that kind of forced some people to have access to financial services, and it opened up huge way and huge possibility here to start also trying new different products. And I believe that there's one more factor that is very important. It's not only about access to the banks or the fintechs coming here in the scene. And if that's happening, that's something that's happening for 8 years or so. Now we have also other players like retailers, like telcos and companies like that are also start offering products and services, financial products and services in the country. That's a real game changer here, because even though all those people don't have specific access, direct access to banks, they consume something on either in a retailer or a telco. And it's talking about telco specifically, we also have the example from Africa, specifically with M-Pesa in Kenya, and here in Brazil there are some retailers that are doing this, just like Magazine Luiza and Via. So we are entering a new era, and I believe that there's going to open up opportunities, and less and less people are going to be unbanked, and we are also underbanked, which I believe is also another problem, because even though some of them have an account, it's just like for receiving financial aid and all of that, but not having access to different products that would make difference in their lives. And that's about to change with the revolution that we're witnessing here in the countries, in Brazil and all the other countries in Latin America as well.
Wow, that was amazing, Bruno. Thank you very much for such a rich insights regarding that. I think that fintechs are really a phenomenal topic. It's really a great solution in many ways, many layers. So the more we speak, the more we understand, the better for us. So thank you very much, Bruno. And now I have a question to Pedro, my friend. So I had the opportunity really to previously, check your TED. It was amazing. By the way, you have a tremendous story. By the way, everyone, if you want to check his TEDx out, it's really interesting. So that became, I actually have a question as well for you. Being a Latino, we have certain challenges, certain barriers, and I believe that you more than anyone here at this panel understands, the difficulties of having success as a Latino. But so, what were the challenges, and what is the impact that those challenges had in your professional life?
Thank you, Rodrigo. I would say number one, it's who you know and who knows you, right? I came to this country when I was 18. I went to Stanford, then I went to Berkeley, but I was very fortunate because I got scholarships. I got a lot of merit-based scholarships when I went to Berkeley. I went to Haas. The dean funded my startup. I raised capital from the CEO of Jeffries. But it all goes to relationships, like Michael was saying, right? Like, my philosophy of doing business is always relational over transactional. And here in Silicon Valley, it's a very, very small world in Palo Alto and Menlo Park and San Jose. And it really is up to how do you build those relationships. So for me, when I was in school, when I was at Stanford, when I was at Berkeley, a lot of my friends and classmates, well, number one, very few Hispanics in Stanford engineering, and very few Latinos and Peruvians at Berkeley Haas, right? Just being real. And number two, my friends at Stanford and Berkeley, we're like, my mom works at VMware, my dad works at Cisco or Lam Research, and I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure that like my mom has no idea what VMware stands for, right? Like my mom, we're from somos de Pampajarán de Ancash, o sea, it's like 12,800 feet above sea level, almost 4,000 meters above sea level. Hablamos quechua, comemos cuy, like super exotic, right? We eat guinea pigs, we eat llamas, like we're very, very rural, and we're proud of that, to be very candid. And so what helped me was build my personal network and board of directors from scratch. And I did that through sports, I did that through church, I did that through friendships and clubs. And little by little, I built my network. And I was very blessed that when you go to a school that's next to Silicon Valley, right, a Stanford or a Berkeley, you're fortunate because you're next to the PayPals and Googles and Facebooks of the world. And so writing the book was pretty straightforward because I partnered with Jorge, who's also from Peru, and Cecita Onofre lo conoce. Both of us are different generations, of course, only 10 years apart. But with Jorge, we were able to talk to all these Fortune 500 CEOs because Silicon Valley is a very, very small community, right? And then again, it's really building your personal relationships because no one does it alone. We all need a team, even for startups. I know we have a lot of students here. For a startup, you need a hustler, an artist, and a hacker, right? You need a CEO, a CTO, and a UI, UX artist / designer. So, my advice for everyone would be to build your personal board. And you don't need a title to be a leader. If I did it, you can surely do it for sure. I came to California. I wish I was born and raised in California. I came here when I was 18. I started extremely late in my career, but thankfully in a few years I could, did my startups. Now I teach engineering and entrepreneurship at Tec de Monterrey. I'm sure we have some amigos mexicanos from Mexico, but you can do it. You can do it. It's up to you. You have to work hard. You have to build your network. You have to ask for help and be strategic. So that's my tip, Rodrigo. No coffee, no Netflix, no Instagram, no TikTok. I'm a very boring person. Go to bed at 10 p.m. every day.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Pedro. I think you really bring a unique perspective. It's so beautiful to see these amazing stories from determination, right? I believe that yes, where you are born has an influence on what you can become, but to me, determination is the key. You went for it. You weren't afraid to put your face out there and everything. So congratulations, Pedro. And now I would like to move on with Chris. Chris, I had the opportunity, of having common things with you, and I know you're doing really interesting and vibrant work, regarding corporate venturing and all of that. So I believe that, especially to startups and the innovation ecosystem, it's something that it's really interesting for you to kind of explain to us a little bit and how can we help, because sometimes a lot of these startups don't know all the opportunities that they can have. So the floor is yours, Chris. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So just to get things a little bit where it's needed before we say how FCJ can help startups and entrepreneurs, is that FCJ is, I call it like a connector, right? We connect the ecosystem, so corporates, investors, universities, and startups by creating a vehicle for corporate innovation. So first we partner with a corporation and we build this vehicle, which is a company, right? 100% focused on corporate innovation through startup engagement. And that new vehicle is, you need to raise money for that new vehicle, which is where we see the investors. And we also need technologies and innovations where we become partners with local or international universities. So we bring everybody together with this new vehicle and the startups. And when we select these startups, we become their strategic co-founders. And those are very early stage startups. They might have an MVP, early adopters, or starting to validate, or a few of them are in traction phases. And those startups, sometimes they think that the first thing they need is $1 million. I don't know why, but that sounds like the number, right? They always think, well, I need $1 million for my startup to actually go the next stage. And that's not necessarily right. They actually need market validation. And that's where we come in. We bridge that gap with the corporations. So when they're selected, they are, they're 1 or 2 feet are already inside of a corporation where they can not just test their solution, but they become a vendor for that company. And that works really well. So we help those companies very early stage. And the good thing about the vehicle that we create, which is called the Corporate Venture Builder, is that it's a win-win situation. So FCJ becomes a co-founder of that Corporate Venture Builder. And it's when the corporate wins, we win. When the startup wins, we win. When the investors win, we win. So it's, if they win, we're winning. If we're not winning, then it's just, not working. But which we see a very great number of successes within FCJ. Right now, we have about 25 venture builders in Brazil. And we started this year to expand to the US, to Europe, to Mexico with Rodrigo as a partner. And we are looking now to bring startups from around the world to the Brazilian and Latin American countries as well through soft lending programs in partnership with all these vehicles, all these corporate venture builders. So this is how we see that we can bring for the startups a strategic partner, a methodology for helping them develop and focus on what's important, and know that the money is needed when it's the right time. And sometimes the very beginning, it's not the right time. There are other resources out there that is needed. I think Pedro said very well, the network you have. So the idea is to open the markets for those startups to help them validate fast or fail fast, right? I like the evaluation phase instead of the validation phase, because it's important for startups to understand that failing sometimes is important, because then you know that you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do something else. So FCJ comes in many different aspects of that journey with the startup and the connection between all the stakeholders of the corporate innovation ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Chris. I particularly love the idea of corporate venturing. I think that especially corporate venture capital is already, something very well spoken of, but especially venture building, I think that it's a fascinating approach to doing business, and I think that it only tends to benefit the startups, the whole ecosystem, really.
And just to add on that, corporate venture capital is that you don't have to have one or the other. Actually, one helps the other, right? The corporate venture capital has a fund of a few millions, hundreds of millions, and they need to assess the market to see which companies they want to invest. What the corporate venture builder does is that they come in before that next, VC investment. They come before that, where they select the startups and they make them ready for that investment. So we're actually assessing those startups for companies who already have a corporate venture capital. And sometimes that's how we work with larger organizations who already have that type of corporate venturing solution. So it's work together.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for your insights. And now I would love to hear from Cesar. Cesar, I think you have as well a tremendous story. I think as a businessman, you began from Argentina, expanded to Mexico, US. I think that it's a formidable success case. And I have a question for you, is that What direct impact do you feel that cultural differences had on making census expansion?
Okay, so I know that we have just a few minutes, so I will try to be quick. I would like to highlight two. I think that people in Latin America, or people that have been born here but have Latin American roots, we as a Latinos, we think more as trying to do everything, and I think in the U.S. it's all about specialization. For example, I remember that my grandfather was a general contractor and he was able to do everything, from the foundation to painting to put together windows. And but in the US, it's in the other way. So you have people that they are building houses here and they just put nails, and they have this incredible machine that they put like 200 nails per minute. My grandfather was putting like 10. So I think specialization is a huge difference between Latinos and people that have more U.S. culture inside. So that is the first one. Being very specific on the things that you do, and have like a good think about things. As an entrepreneur, is a good thing to know everything. But when you have a business, sometimes you need to go deep, and to go deep, you need to differentiate and just doing one thing. And the second topic is like, at least for myself, I got my first education, my undergraduate in Argentina. And in Argentina, at least, I learned to be an employee. And in the U.S., I had a chance to, I went to Stanford, and I learned how to be an entrepreneur. And that is a huge difference also for the Latinos. In Argentina, I learned to play safe. And if you would like to be an entrepreneur, you need to take risks. And that is a huge difference. That if you would like to be an entrepreneur, you need to take risks and don't be afraid to fail. So those are my two differences that I found.
Thank you very much, Cesar, and congratulations on a successful vision.
Thank you.
And now, last but not least, Michael, it was really good, hearing from you before about, how Puerto Rico is. It's really with a lot of initiatives and a lot of opportunities. And I would like for you to put up some thoughts specifically, to the guys of the tech world, startups. How can Puerto Rico help those?
All right, my pleasure. Couple things. If you're a Latino entrepreneur that's on the mainland, I just want to remind you that you do not need a visa or a passport to set up a business in Puerto Rico. If you're a business from, an international business from Latin America looking to locate in Puerto Rico, you will not pay any federal income tax. Tax is very important. On the island, businesses pay 4% government tax to the island, and they don't pay any income tax to the federal government of the United States. And that can save you anywhere from 0 to probably 30% of your operational costs. And if you're a U.S. entrepreneur, you come down here, you probably max would be about 10% if you don't set up your organizational structure correctly. So just financially right out of the gate. Secondly, if you're a company that's wants to enter the U.S. market and wants to do it from a place where your Spanish is better than your English, Puerto Rico could be great. We have a lot of Brazilian companies looking at Puerto Rico for that matter. Also, if your market is on the U.S. mainland, particularly your critical supply chain to the defense industries or the healthcare industries, made in Puerto Rico is made in the United States. I think that's very huge as well. And then on the talent side, real quick, Pedro mentioned that finding talent is important and hard all over the world. Puerto Rico is the #1 source of Hispanic engineers, chemical engineers, and #2 source of female entrepreneur or engineers in the United States of America. So we graduate 26,000 STEM graduates a year. In fact, it's our #1 export, and we want those engineers to work for companies that want to come here, and so they can stay on the island. So that's a really big thing that I wanted to talk about. The other things are the things that we work on that aren't codified, and these are things that are infrastructure. So we're working on a gene cell therapy startup facility, an accelerator that's going to be opening in the spring of 2022, focused on gene and cell therapy startups and early stage companies that are, let's just say, in Series A realm. Secondly, we have, for those that are interested in 5G technologies, that want to test their technology out on the fastest 5G network out there, we have the Puerto Rican 5G zone at Hub 787. This is a secure data lab. It has fully encrypted network. You get access to high performance computing, and it's an exponential accelerator to discovery. What's great is you don't have to stand in line for academia if you want to test your technology, your mobile app, your IoT thing. And the last thing I really wanted to highlight is, for entrepreneurs and inventors, we launched last month Impeller. And Impeller is an online platform for investors and projects. So it's kind of like the Match.com for projects looking for investors and investors looking for opportunities to invest. And so it's everything from real estate deals to techies to bioscience to adventure parks, you name it. And we just launched that, and that's at impeller.investpr.org. We launched with 20 projects. Within a week after that, we had 80 more projects that want to be on it. That also is syndicated to the mainland, so it gets you exposure. So we're doing things with regard to the physical infrastructure, the 5G zone, the impeller, the incubators, and we're working on a tech accelerator too around 5G and logistics. All of these things are very helpful to those types of companies that we want to come here, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any of these of your listeners today that might be interested in something we're working on here.
Thank you very much, Michael. So if any of you is interested, in exploring the opportunities in Puerto Rico, feel free to reach out to Michael. I believe that he will be more than glad to help you out with. So unfortunately, guys, I think we're heading now to the end of our panel discussion. We still have a couple of minutes. If there is a quick question that anyone at the audience wants to ask, any of the panelists, so I'll give a couple of seconds to see in the chat if there's any questions or something. Well, I believe we haven't gotten many, so I would like to thank everyone, Bruno, Chris, Cesar, Pedro, Michael, all the organization. I hope that everyone that participated in this panel, I hope you all liked it. I think that it was really interesting. So hope to catch up with all of you and look forward to connecting with you offline and see what kind of opportunities we can develop. Thank you very much and have an amazing day.
Okay, thank you, Rodrigo. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Gracias.